Welcome to the Savvy Historian. From a distance, it looks like everything is booming. Markets up, money flying, people celebrating. But underneath the party, there's a machine quietly humming away, deciding who really wins and who quietly falls behind. This is the inflation engine. Okay, so let's get right into it. We all talk about inflation, prices going up for gas and groceries. But what if I told you it's not just about prices? What if it's actually an engine, one that's designed to quietly move wealth from one group of people to another? This isn't just an economics lesson. We're gonna look under the hood of the entire system. You ever have that feeling where you look at your paycheck and you know you're making more money than last year, but somehow it just doesn't go as far? That feeling is real. You are absolutely not imagining it. You're actually feeling a quiet, massive transfer of wealth that's happening all the time, right under our noses. To most of us, inflation just feels like pure chaos. The system feels broken, like it's spinning out of control. But it's not random. Not at all. It's a mechanism. And like any machine, it's been built to do something. It's been built to decide who wins, who loses, and ultimately, who gets to own a piece of the future. And here is the central paradox, the part that's kind of mind-blowing when you first get it. The very same force that eats away at the savings of a regular family is the exact same force that pumps up the wealth of people who own things, assets. So if you're saving cash, you're on the losing side of this deal. But if you hold debt on an asset like a house or a business, inflation is secretly your best friend. But here's the thing, it wasn't always like this, not by a long shot. To really understand why our system works this way now, we have to go back in time. We have to pinpoint the exact moment when the rules of the game, the very definition of money itself, was changed forever. So for a long time, money was connected to gold. That kept it stable, kept it scarce. But then the Great Depression happened, and it created this deep, deep fear of the opposite of inflation, something called deflation, where money becomes too valuable and the whole economy just freezes. Fast forward, and after World War II, the US dollar is officially pegged to gold. But the real earthquake hit on August 15th, 1971. That's the day President Nixon went on TV and announced to the world that the dollar would no longer be tied to gold. And this right here shows you just how huge that change was. Money went from being a real, finite thing, a claim on a physical asset, to being an abstract idea, backed by nothing more than trust in the government that issues it. And what does that mean? It means it can be created out of thin air, in literally infinite amounts. Suddenly, inflation wasn't a bug in the system anymore. It became a feature. So what happens when money can be created on demand? What are the actual consequences of that? Well, let's look at what happened next, because the numbers, they tell a pretty wild story about who benefits and who, doesn't. Just look at these numbers. They're staggering. In the 50 years since we left the gold standard, the median income for a family went up about 700%. Okay, sounds good, right? But look at the price of assets. The median home price exploded by 1,200%, and the stock market, it rocketed up by over 4,000%. If you make your living from a paycheck, you're on an invisible treadmill, and someone else keeps speeding it up. And this is exactly why that gap is so massive. For people who own assets and take on debt, inflation is like a superpower. Think about it. $1 million loan feels huge today. But after 20 years of inflation, that debt is so much easier to pay back with cheaper dollars. And all the while, the thing you bought with that debt, the house, the stocks, is soaring in value. The wealthy don't fear inflation, they leverage it. This isn't even a new discovery. Some guy, an economist back in the 1700s named Richard Cantillon, he figured this out. It's called the Cantillon Effect. The best way to think about it is like pouring maple syrup on pancakes. The pancake on top gets totally soaked first, right? Well, in our economy, the people closest to the new money, the big banks, the government, major corporations, they get it first when it's at its most powerful. By the time that money trickles down to the rest of us, prices have already gone up. The money's been diluted. Now, even though our modern system has basically put this whole process on steroids, this isn't a new phenomenon. Bouts of inflation have happened over and over again throughout history. Let's just take a quick look at a few of them. After World War II, you had this huge spike from pent-up demand. During the Korean War, it was panic buying. But look at the Vietnam era. That was from the government basically printing money to pay for the war, because raising taxes was too unpopular. And then you have the oil shocks in the 70s. In every single one of these cases, the trigger was different, but the pattern was identical. The burden fell squarely on regular households as their wages couldn't keep up, while those who owned the scarce assets saw their wealth just climb and climb. And the economist Milton Friedman really hit the nail on the head with this. He argued that inflation isn't really about greedy people or greedy companies. He said it comes from something much deeper. It happens because we, the public, demand that our politicians solve big problems, but we don't want to pay the taxes to fund the solutions. The only way out of that trap? Create more money. So let's pull all these threads together now. What if we've been looking at inflation all wrong? What if it's not a mistake? What if it's not a sign that the economy is broken? What if it's a necessary part of the system we've all built? Here's the hard truth. Our entire modern global economy is built on a mountain of debt. Governments, corporations, all of us. Without a slow, steady burn of inflation making that debt cheaper over time, the whole system would seize up. It would just collapse under its own weight. So maybe this is a better way to think about it. Inflation isn't a fire that we're trying to put out. It's the oxygen. It's the very thing that allows this massive, debt-based global economy to keep breathing, to keep functioning day after day. Right? You always hear that. The experts, the people on TV, they all say a little bit of inflation, maybe 2%, is actually good. They say it encourages people to spend and invest, and it just keeps the whole machine humming along. But that's not the right question. The only question that really matters is this one. Who is it good for? And the answer is pretty clear. It's not good for the person saving for retirement or the family living paycheck to paycheck. It's good for the people who own the very assets that the system is literally designed to inflate. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If the value of our money is not fixed, if it's not a stable measuring stick like a foot or a pound, then it's really just a tool. And the only thing left to ask is, who's holding it and what are they building? So that's the inflation engine. Not a glitch, not an accident, but a system that quietly decides who climbs the ladder and who holds it steady at the bottom. Now you know how it works. The only real question left is, what are you gonna do with that knowledge? I'd love to hear how inflation has shown up in your life. Does it feel like oxygen for growth or more like smoke in the room? Drop a comment below and tell us. And if you want more deep dives into the hidden forces behind money and power, hit like, subscribe to The Savvy Historian, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next.